Happy New Year, everyone. Hope 2021 treats us better. Just like Boba Fett got rid of his rusty, dirty look and cleaned and repainted his armor to be a brand new, badass looking thing, well, that's what we hope to do now with 2021. 2020 was that rusty, old armor that Boba Fett just refused to clean and repaint and start a new leaf and a new page. 2021 is the brand new shining armor that we saw in the Mandalorian series. One of the greatest things to come out of 2020, you have to admit, was the Mandalorian Season 2. It reinvigorated the series and it put it in a different level, especially that finale. And much of that armor got me to thinking a lot during this series. The video that I made a couple of days ago talking about why Boba Fett removed two key elements from his old armor. Now his new armor did not have those symbols. Those two symbols were, number one, the Wookiee scalps that he was wearing on his sleeve as a sign of fear. And number two, the detail that was removed in the new Boba Fett armor is his cape. If you remember in the old trilogy, he had those Wookiee scalps on his sleeve as well as the green cape. Now both of them are gone. You can make the case that they were destroyed in the Sarlacc pit, but aside from the scalps, the cape could have been returned by Boba Fett in a sense, but there is a grand reason why they're gone. Boba Fett turned a new page in his life. He is no longer that wretched bounty hunter that he was in the old trilogy, the one we saw in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He is a new man, a reformed man, and who knows, maybe the Sarlacc pit, him spending a long time in there, years perhaps, made him aware of his evil and wretched ways, belonging to a hive of scum and villainy. Now him taking the throne of Jabba the Hutt might spell a new beginning for Tatooine and the Outer Rim as well. Since he removed those two details from his new armor, I wanted to make a video specifically to tell why he kept the symbols that he kept and what do they mean. More specifically, the one on his sleeve in his yellow shoulder pad and the one on the upper right chest plate that is all in white color. Boba Fett had these symbols for a long time. In fact, you can see them even in the old trilogy in the rusty old looking armor. But now that Boba cleaned and repainted his armor in the Mandalorian series, they are even shinier and brighter than ever before. You can see them clearly now. And so with that, why not talk about what do they actually mean for Boba Fett and why he kept them even after repainting his armor. As a bonus thing, we will talk about the dent on his helmet as well and why it was kept. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Mythosaur sigil or symbol. Of the two symbols on Boba Fett's armor, the Mythosaur skull on his yellow shoulder plate is the most known out of all. Now in canon, not much is known about the Mythosaur except what we heard from Quill in season 1 of The Mandalorian, where he told Din Djarin that he could not quit in riding the blurgs, reminding him of the fact that his ancestors, the Mandalorian, rode mythosaurs in ancient times, and that blurgs were surely easier to ride. In this way, he scolded Din Djarin, but also reminded him of his past, of his people. The Mandalorians do not quit, and this is the only time, mostly in canon, the mythosaur is referenced to or that we know anything about. In Legends, of course, there is a much bigger backstory and richer backstory, so the mythosaurs were enormous beasts in Legends native to the planet Mandalore, and they were said to have bodies the size of a small city. The creature dominated the planet until the arrival of the Tong, a humanoid warrior race said to be helmed from Coruscant, led by a warrior known Mandalore the First. They drove the Mythosaur into extinction and took over the planet and began calling themselves the Mandalorians after their leader. They fashioned the Mythosaur bones into weapons and adopted the creature's skull as their emblem. So the Mythosaur symbol literally means Mandalorians. At least that's its backstory, although this story isn't technically canon as of yet, and it could be canonized very simply with a single line. But as I said, in canon, Quill is the only one to actually talk about the Mythosaur and how the Mandalorians dominated it. So technically it isn't canon, but with some lines here and there, you could make the case that the Legends backstory would be canonized as well, especially talking about the other symbol that we're going to mention very, very soon. Now the Mythosaur's skull, aside from appearing on Boba Fett's armor, A Beskar replica of that skull can also be seen at the entrance of Din Djarin's covert, right at the beginning of Season 1. He also had a pendant of the skull, which he allows Grogu to hold on to, and of course the quill reference as well. So Season 1 was very adamant in explaining the Mythosaur and connecting it in canon to the Mandalorians. Now, I know what you're thinking, Boba Fett does not have an allegiance or does not consider himself to be pure Mandalorian, especially since Bo-Katan was hammering it in during the last episode of Season 2, and Boba Fett might feel either way about himself, but he still is the son of a foundling, and he chooses to wear the symbol of Mandalore. That should tell you something of why he wears that symbol and why he didn't remove it, even though he cleaned and repainted his armor, and he could have easily removed it if he wanted to. If he wanted to show everybody that he has allegiance to nobody. Even though he says that there is something inside of him that keeps him loyal to Mandalore, to the Mandalorians. The second symbol, of course, it is very popular since it is right in front of you, but not a lot of people know about this symbol, and this is Jaster Muriel's sigil. It features what appears to be a wheat branch, a red droplet, and a letter. In Legends, this sigil was worn by Jango Fett's mentor, Jaster Muriel. He was then a journeyman protector on the planet Concord Dawn. The meaning behind the sigil's imagery has never been fully explained, but the wheat likely comes from the fact that Concord Dawn is an agricultural planet, while the letter could be in Arabesh or Mandalorian language. Jaster Muriel was a member of the Journeyman Protectors, the local law enforcement of Concord Dawn, until he killed a corrupt superior officer and was exiled from the planet. This and more can be seen in the Jango Fett comic series Open Season, where Jaster Muriel saves Jango Fett after his parents are killed. Jaster then raised the boy himself until he was killed in the Battle of Korta 6, and after Jango succeeded his adopted father as the next Mandalore, in honor of his mentor, Jango displayed Jaster's sigil on his ship and later passed it down to Boba as well, who added it to his armor. Until recently, Jaster Muriel was Legends material as well, until it was canonized in The Mandalorian Season 2, when Boba Fett actually explains his lineage, starting from Jaster Muriel when he took Jango Fett in as a foundling. And the lineage led to Boba Fett, the man with the new armor, but not forgetting his past. The old and the new combine in Boba Fett's armor, and it tells a bigger and richer backstory. That's why Boba Fett removed those two unnecessary and evil traits, evil symbols, especially the Wookiee scalps. He never brought them back, but he brought back these two ancient symbols of Mandalorians and a symbol of his father's backstory. Even though he is starting a new, fresh life, he still remembers his past. He still remembers the lessons of his father and the lessons of Mandalore, of the old Mandalore. He possibly took Jabba's throne to make things right, to do great things just as Jango probably wanted to, but just couldn't. So that's it basically, but if you guys want to talk more about these symbols, then let me know, talk to me down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.